Testing, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Well, you can always hear that anyway. When I came down today, it's been 54 years since I drove down what was then the Highway 6, the Cornhusker Highway, to come to Lincoln to school. And even then, there was a lot of nostalgia attached with it because my father had attended the University of Nebraska in the 1920s. He was editor of the Daily Nebraskan, and one day a young woman from West Point, a student, came in to apply for a job as a reporter on the Daily Nebraskan, and my father not only hired her as a reporter, but he married her shortly thereafter. So both my parents attended here. My grandfather on my mother's side was here in the 1890s, and so a lot of good things have happened to me because of the University of Nebraska. I received a terrific education here. I was telling the dean the most valuable thing I learned here, but I learned a lot, but the most valuable was accounting, and we had a wonderful professor named Ray Dean. There may even be something named for him down here, isn't there? Yeah, he was, I'd been to the Wharton School, I went to Columbia Graduate School subsequently, and I took a lot of accounting courses, but by far the best instruction I received in accounting came from Ray Dean, and there's nothing more important. People ask me what they should take in business school, or even if they don't go to business school, what they need to know before getting in business, and I tell them, you have to understand accounting. It's the language. I mean, it's like being in a foreign country without knowing the language if you're in business and you don't understand accounting. So you want to get as comfortable with that as you are with the English language. It's made me a lot of money because I listened to what Ray Dean had to say 53 or 4 years ago, and have been able to understand what I was seeing on pieces of paper, what that told me about businesses, and the limitations of what it told me about businesses. But that's the way we invest. Yesterday I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we bought a company. We agreed to buy a company called Clayton Homes about a week ago. It's a big company in the manufactured home business. We agreed to pay $1.7 billion for it. I made that deal over the phone without ever meeting the people there, but I had seen enough through reading 10Ks, 10Qs, annual reports, but looking at figures, what they tell me in terms of the kind of people even running the place, the kind of accounting decisions they make and so on. I was able to make that $1.7 billion transactions over the phone. Yesterday was the first time I met the people, and their board of directors had actually approved the deal a week earlier. So it's, I couldn't have done that if I hadn't have, had a great time at Ray Dean's class 53 years ago. So if I'm going to tout one thing, aside from this particular leadership class, of course, if I'm going to tout one thing, I would tell you that get comfortable with it. It may not happen the first week or the first month in the class, but get very comfortable with accounting. So that I run into CEOs periodically who really don't understand it. They try to bluff their way through, and you can see in their faces, they're frightened almost when somebody hands them a balance sheet or an income statement. They really don't know what it means, and they have to count on somebody else. And that's something you shouldn't count on. We make all our acquisition decisions ourselves. We don't call in consultants or anybody. We don't call in investment bankers, much to their disgust. No investment banking fees in the Clayton Homes deal, because it's my responsibility running Berkshire to understand enough about our acquisition decisions to make them based on the numbers that I see and what I see there. This course, however, is about leadership, and I'd like to talk just for a minute about that, and then I'd like to really talk about whatever's on your mind, and we'll get questions. But leadership obviously it's a very simple thing in concept. My job as the leader of Berkshire Hathaway is to have visions and goals for the company overall with a long time horizon attached to them, and then to get those goals accomplished through other people. That's what it's all about. I can't do it myself, so I have to know where I want us to get to. I have to see over the next mountain if possible, but then I have to get a lot of other people to look over that mountain with me and really do the job. I mean, they are the ones that get it accomplished. So it's getting things done through other people. Now, Berkshire is like many large corporations in certain ways, but it's really quite different in many ways. We have over 150,000 people now working for Berkshire Hathaway in dozens of companies throughout this country primarily, and even abroad a little bit. We have exactly 15.8 people in headquarters, and Deb Ray came down with me today, so we've only got 13.8 there today, and we're probably working just as well with those 13.8 as we would if Deb and I were in the office. But that's an unusual organization. I mean, we have dozens of operating managers, CEOs of their businesses, out there running them today, and they do it without any direction from the home office except for one very limited piece of direction that I give them, which I'll get to in a second. But we have these people, and they're an unusual group of people running these businesses because most of them have sold their businesses to us, and they're very, very wealthy. 3/4 of our managers do not need to work financially. They have no reason financially to work. Probably 3/4 of them are worth at least $50 million, and we have some that are worth in the billions. And yet these people jump out of bed every morning, and work, and they work weekends, and they love working. And why is that? And what's the key to that? Well, the key really is the same reason I keep working. I'm 72. I'm getting Social Security now, so I should be in Florida, pushing shuffleboard around or something of the sort. But I do what I can do, anything in the world I want to do. But what I want to do is run Berkshire Hathaway. Now, why do I want to run it that way? There's a couple things. A, I get to paint my own painting. I go down there every day, and I feel like Michelangelo there, working on the Sistine Chapel or something. Nobody else may think it's a great painting, but I get to paint my own painting. I do not have people second guessing me. I do not have people saying, why don't you use a little more red paint than blue paint? Why don't you paint a seascape instead of a landscape? I get to do my own thing. It's a form of creativity. It's exactly like somebody feels it's a professional golfer or somebody feels it's a painter. They're not doing it for the money, primarily. They're doing it because they like doing something well, and that it happens to be down the route of their talents. And the second thing I like, frankly, is I like applause. I like appreciation. So I like having shareholders who feel good about what I've done. I mean, I have a 96-year-old aunt, and her husband went to the University of Nebraska too, and she is. She has all her money in Berkshire Hathaway, and she counts on me. And she's out in Palm Springs now, and her whole net worth is in Berkshire. And I've got cousins, and I've got everybody in our family has got all their money in Berkshire. And so those people are counting on me, and that's kind of fun to have something where you can actually deliver for other people and change their lives in positive ways. As a matter of fact, we had a couple that nobody had ever heard of up until a few years ago, the Othmers in New York. They came from Omaha. Don Othmer went to Central High. Mitt Othmer, not sure which high school she went to in Omaha, probably South High. They left $750 million when they died. Nobody had ever heard of them. And I think a substantial portion, went right here to the University of Nebraska. It was probably a total surprise to the university when they got, I don't know, you probably got 150 million or so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you should thank the Othmers, but nevertheless, you see the money, you see good things happening out of it. So it's fun. I mean, it's, it beats playing golf every day or something of the sort. So I say, if that's what turns me on, what's going to turn on these managers that are out there running things like Clayton Homes, or we've got a company, Flight Safety, that trains more pilots than anybody in the world. Flight Safety is run by an 85-year-old man, Al Yulshi. Al started the company with $10,000 in 1951. It now trains 4 or 5 times as many pilots as non-military pilots as anybody in the world. And he is there at 85, and it's a matter of public record. He's got $1 billion worth of Berkshire shares. He works 7 days a week. He loves it. And he loves it for the same reason that I love what I do. He gets to do it his way. He buys these big simulators that you train pilots in. He doesn't have to check with me as to whether to spend $15 million for a simulator. He doesn't ask me. He knows so much more about it than I do. Why in the world would he ask me? Well, I can't tell what kind of a plane I'm in, when I'm flying around. And Al is spending a couple $100 million a year on simulators, spending Berkshire Hathaway money, and he never checks with Omaha. He's never had to come to Omaha for any kind of meetings. He runs his own business, and that's what he loves in life. And I let him do it. I mean, that's my contribution to it, is really turning loose his energies. And, they were properly directed before we bought the company 7 or 8 years ago. Why should I think that, he couldn't keep running it after that? And like I say, at 85, he's still running it. The second thing that our managers like, in addition to this painting their own painting, is they too love applause. I mean, I try to be, I report in my annual report accurately what they have accomplished, but they accomplished a lot. You heard Susan Jock, I think, some weeks ago here. Susan came to Borsheim's, and she was making $4 an hour. $4 an hour. And at age, before she was 40, she became CEO of the second largest independent jewelry operation in the United States, from $4 an hour. But it's talent, and Susan knows more about, I don't know anything about jewelry, you could hand me a phony diamond or a real diamond, I couldn't tell the difference. But if I started telling Susan what to order in the way of jewelry, or if I started telling her what kind of terms to extend to customers or who to hire or anything like that, she doesn't need that in life. She really owns Borsheim's. We have the stock certificate, we get the profits. We get accustomed to. But it's her baby. It's her baby. She decides, everything about that place. And so it's her creation. And that feeling of ownership is really extraordinary, and it's so much better. I mean, it's the way I like to work, and it's the way, Susan Jock likes to work. It's the way Al Yoshi likes to work. And Susan, like anybody else in this world, loves being appreciated. I mean, there'd be something wrong with her if she didn't. And the truth is, nobody appreciates her more than I do. I mean, she is a talent. And we are lucky to have her, and we're lucky to have all of these other managers. So leadership at Berkshire really consists of taking a bunch of people who, in a baseball analogy, would be 400 hitters, and just handing them the bat and just telling them to get up their plate and take a big swing. There's very little to it.